Out of nowhere, a weird noise echoed from the train tunnel. Sebastian, a guy in the crowd, sensed something off. People near the tunnel are affected by the eerie sound, their eyes changing colors. As the train approached, they moved toward it as if they were captivated by it. Shortly after, his wife called, urging him to come home immediately. Sebastian witnessed his co-workers beginning to take their own lives right before his eyes. The city had descended into chaos. People ran in panic. Vehicles sped out of control. Accidents occurred everywhere. Fires burned through classrooms, and children were paralyzed with fear. Grabbing Anna, he shielded her as they made their way through the destruction. Outside, he finally spotted his wife, but a speeding car came out of nowhere and struck her, killing her instantly. 9 months later, Sebastian and his daughter Anna are spending time together in an abandoned skateboarding stadium. However, they suddenly hear a noise and begin running away. When they take a sudden turn in a corridor, Sebastian is hit by a group of blind people and falls to the ground. Though hurt, Sebastian tries to fight back, but Anna stops him. The group takes his bag with supplies and leaves. On the radio, there is a warning stating that some strange aliens are outside, and everyone is advised not to look directly at them, as they can control minds and cause people to harm themselves. Afterward, the duo covers his eyes and comes out of the building, finding the streets destroyed and full of bodies as usual. He approaches some strangers who have also covered their eyes with cloth and asks if they have any food, as he hasn't eaten in days. The group is worried that Sebastian could pose a threat to their safety, so Sebastian explains he used to be a construction engineer, claiming that he knows where to find generators that can provide light and indoor heating. Suddenly, the strange energy of the alien aura begins to approach them, and they decide to take Sebastian with them. The party takes Sebastian to a bus station where they're hiding with other survivors and meets Liliana, a doctor who tends to his injuries, and asks what happened. He replies that he got into a fight with some thugs. Later over dinner, he also meets a guy who stitched his own eyes for protection and for his own sanity. He also shares that the aliens mark their victims with a strange eye symbol on the forehead. After dinner, all the people fall asleep inside the bus and Sebastian sees an opportunity. He sneaks around and steals all the keys from the office. Then he starts trying them all out on the bus. Liliana asks him why he's turning it on, but Sebastian coldly says that everything is going to be okay and accelerates. He begins driving the bus rather clumsily all over the station, waking the group up. The other survivors force the door open and begin attacking Sebastian to make him stop. Eventually, the bus crashes and flips over, injuring everyone. As soon as Sebastian crawls out of the bus, he says the entity is coming and calls it beautiful. Marcial, heavily injured, stumbles out of the bus and accidentally looks at the aliens. He immediately kills himself with a piece of sharp shrapnel, and Sebastian sees how a light leaves his body. Liliana also steps out, trembling but keeping her eyes shut, but Sebastian immediately forces them to open them to look at the entity. She catches a glimpse of the aliens and dies. One by one, all the survivors except Sebastian proceed to end things for themselves. Sebastian sees the golden light of souls leaving through the victims' bodies. Suddenly, Anna shows up again and holds her dad's hand, saying it's fine because he saved them. It is then revealed that Anna is merely an illusion of Sebastian's mind. Sebastian walks through a dark corridor and comes across several people crucified on a wall, their hands bound. Most are already dead, but one man is barely clinging to life. With his last breath, the man whispers that the creatures tormenting them are monsters from another galaxy and that they will kill everyone. But Sebastian insists they are angels. He gently closes the dying man's eyes as his soul drifts upward into the sky. Moments later, Sebastian sets off in search of his next victims. Sebastian sees a woman entering a store. He tries to sneak around to attack her, but suddenly some dogs attack Sebastian first. Two of Claire's companions, Rafa and Octavio, arrive with their two dogs. Suspicious, they argue against taking in another stranger, but Sebastian quickly buys them over with the generator story again. When objects around them begin floating to announce the arrival of the entity, the group immediately leaves and flee to their hideout, which is a secured nuclear bunker. Inside, Sebastian is introduced to the rest of the group. Suddenly, Sebastian admits he lied about the generator and a fight ensues, but Sofia cuts in to stop them because she doesn't want any more people getting hurt. This surprises the group as, until now, no one had understood Sofia or even known where she had come from. Sofia then begins to share her story. Sebastian knows German and manages to communicate with her, learning that she got separated from her mother during their trip to Barcelona and how she had to watch lots of people die when the incident first started. Somehow, she and her mother managed to escape and hide inside a van. Sofia also mentions having heard from a broadcast about a mountain castle that is believed to be the safest place from the entity. She also sketches a picture of the castle and a cable car that leads to it. Claire suggests it might be Montjuic Castle. After arguing over the pros and cons, the group agrees to travel there, hoping that they'll find food and safety within the castle's walls. In the morning, they start making their way to Montjuic. The group stops to rest for the night. Once everyone has fallen asleep, Sebastian uses the chance to damage the dog's leash, intending for them to break free when chaos erupts the next day as the aliens arrive, creating a distraction. The next morning on the streets, the group is suddenly surrounded by the entity, which uses the voice of people's lost loved ones. Claire is haunted by the death of her brother. Sophia hears her mother's voice, gently urging her to take off her blindfold, but Octavio stops her just in time. Elsewhere, Rafa is frantically searching for his dogs, and when he hears them crying in pain, he removes his blindfold, only to see the entity and immediately die. Meanwhile, Roberto searches for Rafa but is bitten hard by one of the dogs who is now under alien control. At that moment, Octavio finds a house they can use and blows his whistle so everyone can follow him inside. He calls out loudly for Rafa but can't find him. Claire painfully tells him that Rafa is dead. Hearing this, Octavio breaks down, devastated. While Isabel takes care of Roberto's wound, Octavio shares his theory. He thinks the entity is a quantum being existing within a fluctuating compound and capable of reading human emotions, particularly fear and grief. But he cuts her off abruptly, asking instead where Sophia is. Claire starts to go after Sophia, but Sebastian gently tells her to rest and says he'll check on the girl. When he discovers Sophia won't stop crying, he gives her Anna's necklace, which is the one he had once given to Anna on her birthday. Suddenly Roberto passes out because his wound is infected, so Octavio, Sebastian, and Claire begin investigating the building to find medicine. Claire heads into a bathroom filled with medicine cabinets, while Sebastian and Octavio check another room. In a room with an open window, Sebastian sees Anna again and tells Octavio to come over, claiming the window is closed. When Octavio enters the room, he notices a window wide open. Removing his blindfold for a brief moment, he sees the aliens and immediately falls under their control, causing him to immediately end things for himself. This time, Sebastian can't see the light emanating from Octavio's body because of the doubts he started to harbor. He feels deep regret, and Claire rushes in, drawn by the commotion. Thankfully, Claire drags him out of there before it gets worse. Back, they rejoin Isabel and Roberto. Isabel asks where Octavio is, and Claire sobbily responds that he didn't make it. She hands the antibiotics to Isabel for Roberto's treatment. Later, the few remaining members continue their journey through the city toward Montjuic. They encounter people under alien control, known as seers, and suddenly they find their way blocked by a seer on a bike. The group tries to run away, but the seer hits Roberto and Isabel, making them fall. The aliens surround them swiftly. They understand that this is the end. Roberto looks at Isabel, longing for one last moment with her. The couple removes their blindfolds to die together before the seer can take them. Noticing the entity is coming, Sebastian drags Claire and Sophia into a safe building. Meanwhile, Claire discovers Sebastian's goggles through which he can see easily. The truth hits her immediately. Sebastian has been lying the entire time, meaning he's a seer too and he killed the others. She immediately takes Sophia and they run away. So Sebastian chases them after Anna keeps urging her to kill them. Claire leads Sophia to the ceiling of the bunker. She tells her to keep the blindfold on no matter what happens. Claire, trying to keep her distance, missteps due to her covered eyes. Now Sophia stands alone in front of Sebastian. Anna's voice urges him to remove the girl's blindfold. However, before he can take it off, he sees Anna again and notices she's bleeding. He can't do it. He doesn't want to hurt Sophia. Instead, he embraces her. Something inside him shifts. For the first time in a long while, he begins to feel human again. A flashback unfolds. Months ago, Sebastian and Anna were in the apartment celebrating her birthday when suddenly, someone broke in and knocked Sebastian out. The priest invades their home. He takes Anna and Sebastian to the ceiling. When he woke up, he was on the roof with Anna, Esteban, and his followers. There, he smears ink in the shape of an eye onto Anna's forehead and forces her to open her eyes. She falls under the influence of the aliens and throws herself off the edge. After watching his daughter die, Sebastian looked at the entity too, and suddenly Anna's apparition appeared next to him, urging him to free more people. Back in the present, Sebastian rescues Claire. Then, to earn her trust once again, he tells her about Anna and explains he snapped out of it now. Claire doesn't trust him and keeps her distance, but Sebastian insists he was deceived, so he swears to protect them. At that moment, the seers break into the building, and the trio tries to escape through the roof. One of the seers catches up and attacks him, pressing her fingers into his eyes to make him blind. However, Sebastian is stronger and pushes her away, causing her to fall and die. Without wasting time, Sebastian gets Claire and Sophia into a car and drives toward the mountain castle. However, Esteban and his people have their own vehicles and start chasing them through the city. Along the way, he keeps catching glimpses of Anna's shadow, who urges him to turn back, to give up, but he pushes forward, and when they reach the cable car tower, they leave the vehicle and Sebastian makes it explode to kill a few seers that catch up to them. Then Sebastian tells Claire to take Sophia and go on while he holds off Esteban. During the climb, Sophia nearly slips through a gap between the stairs and starts to fall. Claire reacts instantly, grabbing her hand just in time. There's no way to do this while blindfolded, so Claire decides to risk it and take hers off. Meanwhile, the father arrives with his followers. The father calls out to Sebastian. Sebastian sees Anna walk through the car on fire and attacks her to get rid of his painful vision, only to discover it's Esteban and he stabs him with an iron rod. Meanwhile, Claire reaches the top of the chairlift tower and attempts to start the lift, but she quickly realizes the power supply is out and the lift won't operate. Thinking quickly, she rings a large bell to create vibrations, hoping to attract the aliens. As the creature arrives, the surrounding environment begins to tremble, including the cable cars. The aliens close in on Claire and Sophia, attempting to take over their minds. Claire covers her eyes again as the entity desperately tries to entice them by mimicking the voices of their loved ones. Claire starts hearing the voice of her deceased brother again, but when Sophia is about to fall, Claire saves her just in time. Claire then focuses on the chairlift, timing the opening and closing of its door. She realizes it takes exactly 4 seconds for it to cycle. With that knowledge, she plans to jump just before the lift doors close. Meanwhile, on the ground, Esteban immediately stabs Sebastian back, and both men keep pushing their weapons not to let the other go. Up in the tower, she counts the seconds in her head, and when the time is right, she jumps onto the chairlift, taking Sophia with her. They both make it to safety. Esteban dies from the stab wounds, and so does Sebastian, but first, he sees the cable cars moving. So he dies in peace knowing he helped his friends. Claire and Sophia finally reach the safety of the castle. There, soldiers begin to escort them for an inquiry. They discover there is a whole community living here, and Sophia finally gets to reunite with her mother. Sophia's mother thanks Claire for bringing her daughter to safety. Afterward, a medical officer examines Claire's eyes to check if she's been in contact with the aliens. Claire questions the other researchers about the purpose of the tests, and they explain that they have been attempting to find a chemical indicator of trauma and precisely determine the emotions targeted by the entity. The officer then mentions that if Claire has indeed become a seer, her blood could be used to create a vaccine. Sometime later, researchers inject the antibody into rats and place their cages inside a containment room. During this process, a seer that appears to be one of the experimental subjects is lying in bed. The seer continues to cry out repeatedly, desperately wanting to see the aliens. And so the story ends.